Hello, my name is Christy, and I have decided to start a new series. I read a lot for me, but I'm also a homeschool mom of a five-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. She's not really homeschooling. However, she listens to us while we're learning phonics and stuff, and she's starting to actually catch on to a few things. So we also read books. So I have decided there are so many great children's books out there. Just too many. I get so overwhelmed. So I go into the library with a list, and then I usually get distracted by whatever they have on display. Also, going to the library has cost me a lot of money. I keep reading these books and finding amazing books, and I have to go buy them. Sorry. So, our most recent library visit, it's getting ready to, they're not due anytime soon, but we've read most of them, so it's pretty much time to take them back. But I've decided to do this series to just kind of have it somewhat separate from the books I read. So this is a children's book review video series, and I think I'm going to call it the book basket. So what do I have in my book basket? So I have a bag that I take to the library and I fill it up, but when I bring it home I put them all in, I'll show you, my book basket. And the library books go in this basket. No other books are allowed, and they always have to go back in the basket. They're not allowed to float around the house. So since these are getting ready to be due, I decided now's the best time. My daughter is about to wake up from her nap, and I had a quick moment. So the first book that we had is called Brave Enough for Two by Jonathan D. Voss. Now, I have to admit, my husband read this story to them while we were getting them in bed one night, and I didn't really pay attention, so I can't really say how great it is. However, what I read was great. But let me put this basket down before I drop it. Just look at the artwork in here. It's beautiful. I've recently gotten into watercolor. I'm trying to teach myself to watercolor, and so this is more like a gouache technique, I guess. But it's similar. I mean, look at that. Look how beautiful. So basically, this little girl is scared to do things, and her stuffy, that's an owl, tells her, you know, it's okay, I'll be brave enough for both of us. Well, then, you know, he's with her through all these terrible, scary things, and then he gets injured, and he's not feeling well, his injury. And she said, it's okay, I'll be brave enough for both of us. Anyway, it was a cute book. I wish I'd paid more attention. I wish I'd reread it. The next one is Someone Builds the Dream by Lisa Wheeler and Loren Long. It's very reflective-y. This book is about how things are made. So like this first one, she's an architect, and it says an architect. Now it sounds like I'm saying that weird. An architect creates a space. She'll draw, redraw, measure, trace a woodsy, warm, and peaceful place. But then it talks about all the people who have to come together to build the dream. So someone works to guide the saws, plane the logs, lead the team. Someone needs to pound the nails. Someone has to build the dream. And so it goes through that. Here's an engineer. Then there is building a bridge. Then there is an artist that's making a fountain. And then, let's see, a scientist that's creating clean energy, the wind turbines. And again, beautiful art, beautiful art. Then there is a park designer, but then all the people who have to help build the roller coaster. So it's really, really cute. Then it talks about the author who wrote this book and the illustrator who did the artwork. But it said, then it goes over, but there has to be people who set the text and run the press and load the reams. And then a teacher to, read the story. Or anyway, it's just talking about how it's more than just the person who comes up with the dream or the idea. There's a lot of people that have to work together to build the dream. I loved it. I thought it was great. Then we read, Oh No, or How My Science Project Destroyed the World by Mark Barnett and Dan Santat, illustrated by Dan Santat. The illustrations are great. It's about a girl who creates a robot for her school science fair, but she forgot to add like rules to the robot of like, here, obey my orders and stuff like that. So then she has to come up with a way to, and then she holds up a sign because he can't hear, but she never taught him to read. So it's kind of about that. And then she creates a giant frog to destroy the robot, and he does, but then he doesn't obey either. It's a cute book. I was kind of disappointed. I expected it to be more, but it's a really cute idea. I could see them making a movie based on that. The next one, we have been reading through the Ada Twist books. They all look like this. This one is Aaron Slater, illustrator. We have read Ada Twist and Iggy Peck, Ada Twist, scientist, and Iggy Peck, architect. There's a PBS kids show kind of based on these books too, but this one is Aaron Slater, illustrator, and it's by Andrea Beaty, illustrated by David Roberts. This book, like all of these books, is amazing, but this might be my favorite so far. It's about this little boy who has dyslexia, and he just cannot do what the teacher asks him to do, but then he ends up just telling a story, and the teacher just recognizes what a talent he is. And so they work hard, trying to teach him to read, and he does eventually learn to read. But, his art is what really brings his stories to life. Anyway, if you know a kid with dyslexia, this might be a great story. Also, it is written, I don't know if you can see this, it is written in the text, the font that's good for kids with, or anybody with dyslexia. It helps them to read it. Great book. Extra Yarn by Mark Barnett and illustrated by John Klassen. I had read that this is a good book, so I was like, oh, okay. But it's about this little girl who finds a box of yarn, and so she starts knitting. But she has more and more yarn. Like it never ends. So she knits everybody in town a sweater. She knits all the animals a sweater. She knits the whole town sweaters. Even the buildings. But this evil pirate wants her box of yarn, and she won't give it to him. So he steals it, and then he takes it and he opens up the box, and it's empty, and he's angry, so he throws it out the window. But the box makes its way back to the little girl. She opens it up, and there was a ton more yarn in there. So it's I think it's really about like love and kindness. You never run out. You always have more. It was lovely. Then we read The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. I wasn't sure I was going to like this because I swear I had read it before and wasn't a fan of it, but it was great. It's about this little girl. She has this idea for the most magnificent thing, and she's going to build it. So she plans, and then she tinkers, and she tries, and it's not the most magnificent thing. So she throws it around, and she does more, and then she keeps making them. She's getting really mad because it's not turning out the way she wants it. So then she turns around, she goes and like just has a walk to calm herself down, and she comes back and all of her things are lined up, and she's like, well, I liked this about that thing, and I like that about that one. So she takes all of the good ideas, what she liked from the others, and she creates, she starts creating. Meanwhile, everybody in town finds one of the things to perfectly fit their needs, and by the end she has created her most magnificent thing. I loved this because it was a story about perseverance and keep trying, and you know, my 5-year-old son needs a little encouragement to keep trying and not just give up. The next one I read was The Dot by Peter H Reynolds. Great book, another fantastic book. In fact, I'll probably get this one. I might get The Most Magnificent Thing and extra yarn as well if I can find them for a good price. Now there is a sequel to this one as well as the, you know, the other series of books. I think it's called The Line. I don't know. They had it and I saw it next to the thing. Anyway, it's about this little girl who, she can't draw. She doesn't want to draw. She doesn't like to draw. So the teacher's like, just make a dot. You know, just do something. So she makes a dot. Well, the teacher loves it so much, makes her sign it, hangs it up, puts it in a frame on the wall. And she's like, well, I could do a better dot than that. So she starts making dots and dots. She makes a dot negative space by painting dots. She ends up having an art show. And then a little boy comes to her and is like, I wish I could draw. And she was like, you can, just do something. And he's like, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. And she was like, show me, prove it. And so he draws a little squiggly line. So she makes him sign it and she hangs it up. And, you know, it's just about like, it's another perseverance book. I'm gonna cry. Sometimes these children's books makes me cry more than other books. But my son's not big into drawing. He likes to paint. He does amazing things with Legos. This kid is amazing. But he won't just sit and draw with like crayons or markers or whatever. And so I was like, maybe this will just do something. It doesn't have to be perfect, because that's the other thing we're working on. He gets mad when he's writing his letters and they're not perfect, and he's like, I just can't do it. And I'm like, you don't have to do it perfect. Yes, I do. So, you know. We also read Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steig, or Steig. I'm not really sure. He has a ton of children's books. I swear I have read these growing up. I mean, they are old books, so I probably did. I didn't remember this one, but it is about a family. I hear my daughter is waking up. I better go let her out. I'll pause. Okay, she is waking up. I left the door open, so I was like, just get up whenever you can, when you're ready. Anyway, Sylvester and the Magical Pebble. Sylvester is a donkey. That's his mama and daddy right there. He collects stones, I think. Yes, he collects stones. And one day he's out and he finds the most magnificent pebble ever. And he wishes he could be a stone. Well, he turns into a stone. And then he's like, but he's missing. So his parents, and see, like, the magic pebble is on the ground next to him, but he can't get to it because he's a rock. Anyway, his poor parents, they don't know what to do. They can't find him. Nobody seems to know what had happened. They keep searching. They search and search and search, and finally the parents decide to go to on a picnic to kind of cheer themselves up, and they decide to have dinner on this large stone, and the dad is like, wow, look at this cool pebble, and he sets it down on the stone, and then that's when he wishes he was back, and happy endings. I don't mean to spoil these books for you, but I mean, they're children's books. So that one was good. Let's see, we also had I Am Walt Disney. This was a very good book. We're going to Disneyland in about a month. They don't know about it, so I was like, let's learn about Walt Disney. So this is by Brad Meltzer. He does a lot of kids books. His artwork is so cute. There's another children's show on PBS, Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum, and they're based on these books. So that was a great one. Let's see. Then there's this one, I'm a Science Lover. And so anytime I can find science books that are great, I grab them. Also, if it's got a woman of history, especially a woman of science, I definitely grab those. Or people of color, and especially historical times when it was very difficult as a woman or a person of color to be a scientist or a teacher or an author, or, you know, not that things are just perfect today, but they were much more difficult in the past. So I'm glad there are children's books being written about important people of history that don't always get the page time in your typical history books. So this is June Almeida, a virus detective, the woman who discovered the first human coronavirus. So, you know, by Suzanne Slade and illustrated by Elise Paganelli. I'm not great with these names, I'm sorry. But this is about June Almeida, and it talks about all her life, like her interests and how she became a scientist, and she married a scientist and they moved to Canada, and then, and her brother, he had died of a virus when he was like 1 or 2 years old. So that really made a impression on her. Anyway, she uses electron microscopes, and she ends up taking a picture of a virus, and anyway, they end up calling it a coronavirus, and it just was very interesting that especially the time period of when, you know, my son was born 3 months before the lockdown. He was born in December, and I think we went into big lockdown, in March. But she was a real person. Here is the image she created from the electron microscope of the first coronavirus discovery. So I really like a lot of these books. They'll tell the story, but then like there's a timeline, and then like it talks about the real history. I mean, the book is about it, but it's more, and then it gives recommended reading. Then let's see, we have not read this book yet, so I need to read this one, The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge by Hildegard Swift and Lind Ward. I don't know if we're going to get to this because I really need to take these back to the library soon. If we don't take them back tomorrow, then I'll read that one this weekend. There's also one more that I need to read. It is I Am Ruby Bridges. I tried to get this in February for Black History Month, but it was out, so it came available this about a week ago, and I still haven't read it. But it says how one 6-year-old girl's march to school changed the world. It is by, oh, she wrote it. Written by the acclaimed civil rights icon Ruby Bridges. Art by the #1 New York Times best-selling illustrator Nicholas Smith. So we are gonna have to read this, but it's got very beautiful artwork in it as well. You know, Ruby Bridges is still alive, and that's just amazing. I think, and from what I know, she's got like a pretty active Instagram too. Isn't that funny? But I'm looking forward to reading it. So the last book, and this one's another one I'm probably gonna have to buy because my son loved it, and you'll know why. It is called The Great Stink: How Joseph Balzaghetti Solved London's poop pollution problem. And it's by Colleen Pafe and illustrated by Nancy Carpenter. Also beautiful artwork. Let me see if I angle this. I keep leaning so that I can show the book. But it is about the Thames River pollution because, ugh, there's something dusty in this book. Because they would just dump their sewage straight into the Thames. And there were like 3 cholera epidemics that killed thousands of people. My son like asked like, why is there a skeleton pouring the drink? So we had to talk about symbolism in art. But I really thought that was, there's a lot going on, a lot of messaging going on right there. They even talked about how they would pour the water and they'd let the solids sink to the bottom. Anyway, but it was a lot to read. Like every page has tons of information, and it does it in a timeline form. But we read it before bed one night. I wasn't gonna read the whole thing. I was just gonna read part of it, and then I was like, look at this. This is a whole thing explaining our poop pollution today. And then it gave recommendations on things you can do and what other countries are doing. Then there's a more detailed timeline. There is an author's note and then further reading. I love these books that have this kind of stuff in it. And then it has a bibliography. But yeah, we're gonna have to get this book because it is so good. He made my mom read it to him again the other night. But very, very important engineering feat, and something that we don't usually like to talk about, unless you're a little kid, then you love to talk about it. But we should talk about things like this more. This was an amazing, amazing feat of engineering and advancement in just public health. And I have heard his story. There was stuff in here I hadn't heard. But anyway, the Great Stink was an actual event that happened when it got so stinky in London because of a heat wave that came through, and you can just imagine. So those were the books that I got from the library the last time I was there. So if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. I would love to hear what you think about this. Should I keep this up? Is this a good idea? I feel like it's something I would look for. But sorry that this is long. I tried to go fast, but if there's any books that you would recommend that might kind of have the same idea, you know, we don't mind silly, because there's benefit in entertainment and being funny and silly, but we also really like books that have either a good teaching or some history or science, you know, that makes it fun and interesting for kids. So if you have some recommendations, please leave them below. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.